Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Atomic Ambition, the podcast. The podcast for people like you and like me who are fans of self-development, self-improvement books, and podcasts as well. Now, this week, if I told you to eat that frog, what would you think? What would you say to me if I said, eat that frog? Unless you've read the book, by Brian Tracy, if I'm not mistaken, you will think I'm crazy. No one wants to eat a frog. But eating that frog is the idea or the expression sort of coined to describe doing the least pleasant tasks first. That's what eating that frog is. I think it comes from a Mark Twain quote, where Mark Twain wrote, if the worst thing that happens to me this morning is I eat a frog, then nothing bad is going to happen to me for the rest of the day. That's the idea of eat that frog. So it's about improving your productivity and not procrastinating over the things that you know you should do but you really don't want to do because you kind of, you'd rather do something easy or simple. So that's the idea of eat that frog. There's a lot to the book. It's a very, very interesting and detailed book. It's actually, surprisingly, it was quite a short book, I thought, for me. But it was still full of some really, really great ideas. Now, the one thing that I've taken away from that book is the power of lists. Now, I've always been a person in my professional life, I've always been a person who has used lists. From a very, very early age, I had what I called at the time my day book. I still have a day book. It's just a notebook, but I call it my day book. And it's basically 1 page per day. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 pages, depending on how many notes you make. But basically, you start off with a blank page, okay, and you create a list of all the things that you have to do for the day. I've always done that. And then at the end of the day, okay, you flick over to a brand new page and you start to create your list for the next day. So you're kind of preparing for the day that's coming tomorrow. I've always done that in my professional life. That was one of the key skills, if you want, that was sort of drilled into me from a very, very young age. In work, write your list. Your list is constantly being added to during the day. You're crossing off things that you've completed. At the end of the day, last thing you do is you turn over to a blank page, start creating your list for the next day. So you're kind of prepared for the next day. Now, I've always done that. For me, it's a very natural thing. Lots of you guys might use productivity apps for your lists. My wife loves lists. My wife has lists on Post-it notes. So she has lots of physical lists. She has lists in books and on notes. She also has lists on apps like Google Notes, for whatever. She has notes everywhere. I've never been one for using electronic notes. It's a bit like reading books. Generally, I like to hold the physical book in my hand, and I enjoy the act of turning pages. Now, with Eat That Frog, it wasn't an ebook this time. I actually listened to Eat That Frog on Audible. And like I said, I was surprised at how compact it was, but also surprised that so much was included in the book. Now, lists. So I've always been somebody who uses lists in my professional life, not so much in my personal life. My personal life is a bit more flexible. Yeah, but in my professional life, there's always been lists. I start each day with a list, and you cross things off as you do it. New tasks come along, you add them to the bottom. Okay, but within the book, Eat That Frog, there's this idea of not just creating a list, but also prioritizing your list. Now, I've kind of always prioritized. I've usually put an asterisk next to the things that were really, really, really important. But in the book, Brian Tracy talks about the ABCDE method. So you start creating your list, and then you add the letter A to anything that is absolutely, totally, 100% urgent. You might have maybe 2 or 3 things. So you have A1, A2, A3. And A1 is your priority until you have completed that task or that activity. Then you move to A2, then perhaps A3. Then after you complete your A's, you go to your B's and then your C's. You'll probably find out that by the time you get to your C's, your D's and your E's are things that you're not going to really prioritize during your day. So the D's are really things that you might want to delegate, D for delegate, and E is eliminate. Okay, that's an interesting idea. Maybe. I don't have anyone to delegate to, and if I don't do it, I can't really eliminate it because I work on my own. I work for myself. Maybe there are things I can eliminate, but yeah, it's an idea for prioritizing, which I think it will kind of help, but it's similar to what I do with my asterisks about the things that I think are really important. What I have really taken from this book though is not just listing things on a daily basis, but actually listing things on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and an annual basis. Yeah, that's what I've really taken. So I listened to this book fairly recently, and I decided this year in 2025 that I'm going to create an annual plan, kind of like setting goals for the year, and then I'm going to break down each of that big goal into monthly goals for January, February, March, etc. And then each week there will be actions for each week. And then obviously on a daily basis, my daily actions tend to be very, very, very flexible and changing constantly. But I have for 2025 got myself an annual plan. I still have my day book. So some examples of books. So this was 2023's book. That was 2024's book, and this is 2025's book. These are my day books. These are what I use for writing my lists in. This year's book, I have an annual plan, I have monthly plans, I have weekly plans, and I have daily plans. I'll let you know how I get on at the end of the year, but so far, I think it's working quite well. What I've done, I've kind of adapted this to sort of suit my working method a little bit. Not really my working method, but my the way I plan things. It's great to have lists. For me, a daily list of actions and activities works really, really well. And I enjoy sort of ticking it off, scratching it off when you've done it. Yeah, I enjoy adding to the list. Phone this person, send this email, do this, do that. Write it on the list, and when you've done it, cross it off or tick it off, whatever is your preference. But when it comes to monthly, weekly goals, okay, but when it comes to monthly, I found it easy to visualize it, not in a list, but like something like this. Yeah, so that has helped me create my plan for, say, I'm filming this in February, so this is actually February 2025's plan. And this is my monthly plan. It looks a mess, and it is a mess, but it's basically my brainstorm really of what do I want to achieve, and then I'm looking at, well, what do I need to do to achieve this, and I've broke it down into what I think are basically weekly goals that I need to achieve. And then during each week in February, I'm adding daily tasks. So this has really, really worked for me. I'm really pleased with the progress I've made, and using, it's a brainstorm. I'm sure there's lots of fancy words to describe what I've done. A brainstorm, brain dump, sort of, but I'm using graphics and using, arrows pointing in different directions. Like if this I want to achieve, I'm going to do that. Okay, to do that, I'm going to do this. Then this might link with this thing over here as well. that's really, really helped me understand what I've got to do to achieve what I want to achieve in February. I'm going to do this for every month of the year from now on, because this really, really works for me personally. I think having just a list for February wouldn't be as effective for me. So I like the idea of having the annual, monthly, weekly, and daily goals, daily tasks. For me, I need something more visual than a list for the more longer term ideas. So that's what I came up with, and it's working really, really well for me. So yeah, lists. I love lists. I love lists of things to do only in my personal life. Sorry, only in my professional life. In my personal life, I hate lists. I even hate shopping lists. Yeah, but you need lists to help you achieve what you want to achieve and to become more productive. The aim of being more productive at work, especially for me, is to spend more time not working. Okay? May sound a bit counterintuitive, but that is my aim. I think if I can become more productive and achieve my goals quicker on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis, then I can spend more time not working and doing things that I really enjoy doing, such as spending time with my family, spending time outdoors, doing my hobbies, I enjoy a bit of running on the treadmill, I enjoy going to the gym, I enjoy watching movies, eating popcorn, watching movies. I can spend more time doing things like that if I'm not stressed and worried that I haven't achieved what I need to achieve on a daily basis. So yeah, if you're a fan of lists, if you're not a fan of lists, then I'm going to tell you and try and persuade you that you need to start writing lists. Read the book Eat That Frog and think about planning more longer term as well. Give yourself, what do you want to achieve in a year, each month? You could do it in quarters as well if you wanted to. A year, quarters, half years, whatever time frames work for you. I would highly suggest you try and do something visual on a single sheet of paper. You can get apps that will help you do this on a computer, but for me it works best if it's on a sheet of paper and I can hold it in my hand. That works best for me. Yeah. So, eat that frog. Do the one thing each day that you're dreading doing, or that you're procrastinating over, and then the rest of the day should be a breeze, hopefully. Anyway, that's all for this week. Eat that frog. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? Eat that frog. Anyway, I'll see you all again next week.